Brahman iti namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatadesha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauri Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्णा। चलिए, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सभी का ज्वाइन करने के लिए। और आज एकदम फटाफट we have started Krishna book. So yeah, those who want to read Krishna book may raise their hand. We will be starting from here since we are fully surrendered. Yeah. Should we start from this paragraph or a paragraph? Okay. The book is started just one paragraph. So let's start from the starting itself. Although we read one paragraph, we will not be discussing it. But let's start from first paragraph itself. Those who want to read may raise their hand. Who should start? Shweta, you go first and please. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 83. Draupadi meets the queens of Krishna. There were many visitors who came to see Krishna, and among them were the Pandavas headed by King Yudhishthira. After talking with the gopis and bestowing upon them the greatest benediction, Lord Krishna welcomed King Yudhishthira and other relatives who had come to see him. He first of all inquired from them whether their situation was auspicious. Actually, there is no question of ill fortune for anyone who sees the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Yet when Lord Krishna, as a matter of etiquette, inquired from King Yudhishthira about his welfare, the king became very happy by such a reception and addressed the Lord thus: My dear Lord Krishna, great personalities and devotees in full Krishna consciousness always think of your lotus feet and remain fully satisfied by drinking the nectar of transcendental bliss. The nectar which they constantly drink sometimes comes out of their mouths and sprinkled on others as the narration of your transcendental activities. This nectar coming from the mouth of a devotee is so powerful that if one is fortunate enough to have the opportunity to drink it, he is immediately freed from the continuous journey of birth and death. Our material existence is caused by our forgetfulness of your personality. But fortunately, the darkness of forgetfulness is immediately dissipated if one is privileged to hear about your glories. Therefore, my dear Lord, where is the possibility of ill fortune for one who is constantly engaged in hearing your glorious activities? Since we are fully surrendered unto you and have no other shelter than your lotus feet, we are always confident of our good fortune. My dear Lord, you are the ocean of unlimited knowledge and transcendental bliss. The reactions of mental concoctions in the three phases of material life, wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep, cannot exist in Krishna consciousness. All such reactions are invalidated by the practice of Krishna consciousness. You are the ultimate destination of all liberated persons. Out of your independent will only, you have descended to this earth by the use of your own internal potency, Yogmaya, and to re-establish the Vedic principles of life, you have appeared just like an ordinary human being. Since you are the Supreme Person, there cannot be any ill luck for one who has fully surrendered unto you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Just let us understand, and thereafter we will move. Very important thing. Look, this is why Krishna is called indecipherable. That one who is not able to be understood by minds of others. So Krishna is not understandable by anyone's mind, because look, here Krishna talks about the fact that Krishna is above the modes of three material nature, right? And Krishna controls all the three. But at the same time, when it comes to uh, uh, material natures, origin, preservation, and destruction, is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And in that, Krishna is in mode of goodness, that is wakefulness. Mode of passion, that is sleep, is Brahma. Mode of ignorance, that is Shiva, is deep sleep. On one side, Krishna is above all these three. On the other side, Krishna is controller of one, Vishnu. Krishna is controller of one. Yeah. So Krishna is indecipherable. We would never be able to understand Krishna in complete. And if, however, we do this mental speculation of making, of trying to understand Krishna, we would end up doing wrong to ourselves only. Try and understand. This is just Yoga Maya and Mahamaya acting upon us. Krishna would never be able to understood. We would never be able to understand about Krishna irrespective of Maya. Like Yashoda Maiya. Yashoda Maiya. Or this residents of Vrindavana. Or elevated personalities. Krishna's associates would be controlled by Yoga Maya. But rest people would be controlled by Mahamaya. Is there anyone who is freed from Maya? Anyone? No one. No one is freed from Maya. Yeah. So Krishna, we would never be able to understand about Krishna without. I mean, look at this. In material world where we are living, we are bound to fail. So we could be certain about one thing. We could be certain about not knowing about Krishna. Knowing about Krishna is a different thing. We would be certain about not knowing about Krishna. In the higher loka, in the higher birth, we might be able to connect with Krishna. But still, we would be controlled. Independent of Maya, we would not be there. Yeah, but lower Maya would not act upon us. Higher Maya would act upon us if we happen to reach to higher loka. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Let's continue. Shweta, you want to continue, or should I continue from here?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. When Lord Krishna was busy meeting various kinds of visitors, and while they were engaged in offering prayers to the Lord, the female members of the Kuru dynasty and the Yadu dynasty took the opportunity to meet with one another and engage in talk of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. The first inquiry was made by Draupadi to the wives of Lord Krishna. She addressed them, "My dear Rukmini, Bhadra, Jambavati, Satya, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Saibya, Mitravind, Lakshmana, Rohini, and all other wives of Lord Krishna. Will you please let us know how Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepted you as his wives and married you in pursuance of the marriage ceremonies of ordinary human beings?" To this question, the chief of the queens, Rukmini Devi, replied, "My dear Draupadi, it was practically a settled fact that princes like Jarasandh wanted me to marry King Shishupal, And as is usual, all the princes present during the marriage ceremony was prepared with their armor and weapons to fight with any rival who dared to stop the marriage. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead kidnapped me the way a lion takes away a lamb from the flock. This was not, however, a very wondrous act for Lord Krishna, because anyone who claims to be a great hero or king within this world is subordinate to the lotus feet of the Lord. All kings touch their helmets to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. My dear Draupadi, it is my eternal desire that life after life I be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure and beauty. This is my only desire and ambition in life. After this, Satyabhama began to speak. She said, "My dear Draupadi, my father was very much afflicted by the death of his brother Prasen, and he falsely accused Lord Krishna of killing his brother and stealing the Samantka jewel, which had actually been taken by Jamvan. Lord Krishna, in order to establish his pure character, fought with Jamvan and rescued the Samantka jewel, which he later delivered to my father. My father was very much ashamed and sorry for accusing Lord Krishna of his brother's death. After getting back the Shamantika jewel, he thought it wise to rectify his mistake. So, although he had promised others my hand in marriage, he submitted the jewel and me at the lotus feet of Krishna, and thus I was accepted as his maidservant and wife. After this, Jampati replied to Draupadi's question. She said, my dear Draupadi, when Lord Krishna attacked my father Jampan, the king of the rickshaws, my father did not know that Lord Krishna was his former master, Lord Ramchandra, the husband of Sita. Not knowing the identity of Lord Krishna, my father fought with him continuously for 27 days. After this period, when he became fatigued, he could understand that since no one but Lord Ramchandra could defeat him, his opponent, Lord Krishna, must be the same Lord Ramchandra. He thus came to his senses and immediately returned the Shamantika jewel. Furthermore, to satisfy the Lord, he presented me to him to become his wife. In this way, I was married to the Lord, and thus my desire to be a servitor of Krishna, life after life was fulfilled. After this, Kalindi said, my dear Draupadi, I was engaged in great austerities and penances to get Lord Krishna as my husband. When he became aware of this fact, he very kindly came to me with his friend Arjuna and accepted me as his wife. Lord Krishna then took me away from the bank of the Yamuna, and since then I have been engaged in the house of Lord Krishna as a sweeper, and the Lord is treating me as his wife. After this, Mitravinda said, my dear Draupadi, there was a great assembly of princes at my Swayamvara ceremony, the personal selection of a husband. Lord Krishna was also present in that meeting, and he accepted me as his maid servant by defeating all the princes there. He immediately took me away to Dwarka, exactly as a lion takes its prey from a pack of dogs. When I was thus taken away by the Lord Krishna, my brothers wanted to fight him, and later they were defeated. Thus, my desire to become the maidservant of Krishna, life after life, was fulfilled. After this, Satya addressed Draupadi in this way. My dear Draupadi, my father arranged for an assembly for my Swayamvara and to test the strength and heroism of the prospective bridegrooms, he stipulated that they each fight with his 7 ferocious bulls, which had long, sharp horns. Many heroic prospects tried to defeat the bulls, but unfortunately they were all severely stuck and they returned to their homes as defeated invalids. When Lord Sri Krishna came and fought with the bulls, they were just like plaything for him. He captured the bulls and roped each one of them by the nostrils. Thus they came under his control, just as a goat's small kids come very easily under the control of children. My father was very much pleased and married me to Lord Krishna with great pomp, giving as my dowry many divisions of soldiers, horses, chariots, and elephants, along with hundreds of maidservants. Thus, Lord Krishna brought me to his capital city Dwarka. On the way back, he was assaulted by many princes, but Lord Krishna defeated all of them, and thus I have the privilege of serving his lotus feet as a maidservant. After this, Bhadra began to speak. She said, "My dear Draupadi, Lord Krishna is the son of my maternal uncle. Fortunately, I became attracted to his lotus feet. When my father understood these feelings of mine, he personally arranged for my marriage, inviting Lord Krishna to marry me and giving him in dowry one akshauhini or division of armed forces, along with many maid servants and other royal paraphernalia. I do not know whether I shall be able to have the shelter of Lord Krishna life after life, but still I pray to the Lord that wherever I may take my birth, I may not forget my relationship with his lotus feet." Then Lakshmana said, "My dear queen, many times I heard the great sage Narada glorifying the pastimes of Lord Krishna. I became attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna when I heard Narada say that the goddess of fortune Lakshmi was attracted to his lotus feet. Since then, I have always been thinking of him, and thus my attraction for him has increased. My dear queen, my father was very affectionate towards me. When he understood that I was attracted to Krishna, he devised a plan like that devised by your father during the Swayamvara. The prospective bridegrooms had to pierce the eyes of a fish with their arrows. The difference between the competition in your Swamvara and mine was that in yours the fish was hanging openly on the ceiling in clear view. But in mine, the fish was covered and could be seen only by its reflection in a pot of water. That was the special feature of the Swamvara. The news of the device spread all over the world, and when the princes heard of it, they arrived to my father's capital city from all directions, fully equipped with armor and guided by their military instructors. Each of them desired to win me as his wife, and one after another they raised the bow and arrow left there for piercing the fish. Many could not even join the bowstring to the two ends of the bow, and without attempting to pierce the fish, they simply left the bow as it was and went away. Some with great difficulty drew the string from one end to other, but being unable to tie the other end, they were suddenly knocked down by by the spring-like bow. My
Hare
dear
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So, Krishna's prime princes are narrating their pastime of how Krishna accepted them as his wives. Now, these are primary queens of Krishna, and every time one startling, one very striking thing is happening, every one of them are saying that Krishna accepted them as his maid servant. No, Krishna never accepted them as maid servant, but why they are saying so? Every time, everyone is saying, Krishna accepted me as a maid servant. Would Krishna accept his wife as his maid servants? Would Krishna do that? Why are wives of Krishna saying so? Huh? There must be some reason. Why are wives of Krishna saying that Krishna accepted these them as maid servants? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay. Rashi Mataji. Okay. Yeah. Because everyone is Krishna's maid servant, one accept it or not, it is the truth. Correct, but why they would say? Hmm? Why they would say? Krishna's relationship with everyone is shashwat, is permanent. It is not impermanent. Whether they say or not, the relationship remains the same, isn't it? When the relationship remains the same, why are they saying? Why are they saying? Yes, Everyone is made servant of Krishna, but these are elevated personalities. Now, although they are parts of Krishna only, right? They are happy serving Krishna, not enjoying. This is very important part. In bhakti, we serve, we do not enjoy. In bhakti, when we are doing bhakti, our main objective is to serve Krishna, is not to enjoy Krishna. Right? These are eternal associates of Krishna. And they want to serve Krishna all the time. These devotees of Krishna, these are primary wives of Krishna. They want to serve Krishna all the time. That is the perfection of doing bhakti. And whenever we talk of doing bhakti, we talk about Vaishnav Seva. Do we talk about Vaishnav enjoyment? No. We always talk about Seva. What is that Seva? We have to serve. Now, if we are serving, we would be enjoying. It goes in the similar breath that we need to serve Krishna. Right? Through our senses, we need to serve Krishna. Whether or not we accept it, that is a different thing. We may or may not be able to accept it. Even asuras are serving Krishna only. Everyone is serving Krishna. Whether they accept or not is their choice. Independent free will. Krishna has given everyone independent free will. Those who are demoniac misuse it. Yeah. So that's a situation. We all need to serve Krishna. And if we are serving Krishna really well, then the enjoyment of serving Krishna is really intense. Now, please try and understand, this is very, very important. Serving Krishna is not like being a servant in this material world. In this material world, when we serve anyone, we bow down and we look down upon ourselves. We are a lower class people, right? But when we are servant of Krishna, Krishna glorifies. Krishna glorifies all the devotees. Who are devotees? Devotees are pure-hearted souls who have surrendered themselves to serve Krishna at all times. This is not a material servant. These servants are eternal associates of Krishna, and they ask Krishna, Krishna, we want mango. Then Krishna picks up all the mangoes of the tree and serves the devotees. Krishna also mentioned this in Bhagavad Gita. Thoughts of pure devotees dwell in my heart. So when you are serving Krishna, you are taken care. So serving Krishna is really very, very special. Now these are serving Krishna, and therefore they are always in this trance mode that they always think themselves of serving Krishna. More than being their wives, they think themselves as their maid servant, Krishna's maid servant. Yeah. This queen is now narrating her pastime, and this is Lakshmana. Yeah. My dear queen, you will be surprised to know that at my Swayamvara meeting, there were many famous kings and heroes present. Heroes like Jarasandha, Ambashtha, Shishupal, Bhimasena, Duryodhana, Karna were of course able to string the bow, but they could not pierce the fish because it was covered. And how could they trace out from the reflection? The celebrated hero of the Pandavas, Arjuna, was able to see the reflection of the fish on the water. But uh, although with great care he traced out the location of the fish and shot the arrow, he did not pierce the fish in the right spot. But his arrow at least touched the fish, so he proved himself better than other princes. Now Draupadi Maharani is narrating her pastime, and please try and understand. Hmm. Pure devotees of Krishna, now here is Arjuna, would not talk independent of Krishna. Independent of Krishna, they are nothing. Only because Krishna says, do this, yes, Krishna, I would do it. Independent of Krishna, I don't know what is there. He does not know. That is the reality. Actually, that is the reality with each one of us. Pure devotees accepts it, others do not. Yeah, all the princes who tried to pierce the target were disappointed, being baffled in their attempts, and some candidates even left the place without making an attempt. But when at last Lord Krishna took up the arrow bow, uh, uh, yeah, he was able to bowstring very easily, just as a child plays with the toy. He plays the arrow, and looking only once in the reflection of the fish in the water, he shot the arrow and pierced the fish. Immediately, he fell down. This victory of Lord Krishna was accomplished at noon during the moment called Abhijit, which is astronomically calculated as auspicious. At that time, the vibration Jaya Jaya was heard all over the world. Uh, yeah, uh, just a minute. And from the skies came the sounds of the drum beaten by the denizens of the heaven. Great demigod were overwhelmed with the joy and showered flowers on the earth. Now, there are two things. The same event, same thing. Nearly everyone in the assembly too was same. So I got confused. Just a minute. Where the people who were in the assembly? Jarasanga, Ambashta, Shishupal, Bhimasena, Duryodhana, Karna, right? Similar faces, almost same. Were they in the this one in the marriage ceremony of Draupadi, Panchali, right? Now Krishna does uh, pierce the fish, and look, demigods are always, and pure devotees are always in this wait. Pure devotees always wait for this opportunity to glorify the Lord. Their only objective in their life is to glorify the Lord. Whenever they would get an opportunity to glorify, they would just be glorifying the Lord. And without any opportunity to, they would be glorifying only. So, yeah, everyone was glorifying Lord. Actually, that is the perfection. Every power is coming from Krishna all the time. If we are not glorifying Lord, please try and understand, we are glorifying someone. That someone generally tends to be ourselves. Yeah, when we do not glorify Lord, we glorify ourselves. Because the power is there, right? The appearance is there. Now there's a desire. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada always says this. We have this desire to serve. It's like you're sitting in your room and suddenly you see very bright sunlight, right? When you see bright sunlight, you would talk about it, right? Now you may glorify either the sun for being bright, or you may glorify yourself of being situated in a good place and now coming out in the open, right? So the tendency would be there. Either you glorify sun or you glorify yourself. That is your choice. But the tendency would be there. So the power is there. A devotee is one who does not see things independent of Krishna. So he would always glorify Lord rather than glorifying himself. Whatever power he has got, whatever achievement he has done, would always glorify the Lord. So demigods are glorifying Krishna. At that time, I entered the arena of the competition, and the ankle bells of my legs sounded very melodious as I walked. I was nicely dressed with new silken garments, flowers decorated my hairs, and because of Lord Krishna's victory, I was in ecstatic joy and smiling very pleasingly. I carried my hands a golden necklace bedecked with jewels while glittering at intervals. My curling hair encircled my face, which shone on the bright luster with a bright luster due to the reflection of various earrings. My eyes blinking. I first observed all the princes present, and when I reached my lord, I very slowly placed the golden necklace on his neck. As I have already informed you from the very beginning, my mind was attracted by Lord Krishna, and I considered garlanding of the Lord my great victory. As soon as I placed the garland on the neck of the Lord, there sounded immediately a combination of vibration of mridanga, pataha, uh, and akana drums, conch shells, kettle drums, and other instruments, causing the tumultuous sound. And while the music played, expert male and female dancers began to dance, and singers began to sing sweetly. So again, devotees of the Lord, they are just glorifying God. Just one business, nothing else. Yeah. My dear Draupadi, when I accepted Lord Krishna as my worshipable husband, who's there? Rashimati, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
My dear Draupadi, when I accepted Lord Krishna as my worshipable husband and he accepted me as his maid servant, there was a tumultuous roaring among the disappointed princes. All of them were very agitated because of their lusty desires, but without caring for them, my husband, in his form as the four-handed Narayana, immediately took me on his chariot, which was drawn by four excellent horses. Expecting oppositions from the princess, he armored himself as he armored himself and took up his bow, named Sharanga. And then our celebrated driver, Daruka, drove the beautifully chariot without a moment delay toward the city of Dwarka. Thus, in the presence of all the princes, I was carried away very quickly, exactly as a deer is carried away from the flock by a lion. Some of the princes, however, wanted to check our progress, our progress, and thus equipped with proper weapons. They opposed us just as dogs try to oppose the progressive march of the lion. At that time, due to the arrows released by the Sharang bow of Lord Krishna, some of the princes lost their hands, some of them lost their legs, some of their head and their lives, and other fled from the battlefield. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then entered the most celebrated city of the universe, Dwarka. And as he entered the city, and the, uh, and as he entered the city, he appeared like the shining sun. The whole city of Dwarka was profu- profusely decorated. Decorated on that occasion, there were so many flags and festoons and gates all over Dwarka that the sunshine could not even enter the city. I have already told you that my father was very affectionate to me. So, when he was that my desire had been fulfilled by my getting Lord Krishna as my husband, in great happiness he began to distribute to friends and relatives various kind of gifts, such as valuable such as valuable garments, ornaments, bedsteads, and sitting carpets. Lord Krishna is always self-sufficient, yet my father, out of his own accord, own accord, offered my husband a dowry consisting of riches, soldiers, elephants, chariots, horses, and many rare and valuable weapons. He presented all these to the Lord with great enthusiasm. My Lord, my dear Queen, at that time I could guess that in my previous life I must have performed some wonderfully pious activity. And as a result, I can in this life be one of the maid servant in the house of the supreme personality of Godhead. When all the principal queen of Lord Krishna had finished their statements, Rohini, as the representative of the other 16,000 queens, began to narrate the incident of their becoming wives of Krishna. My dear queen, when Bahumasur was conquering all the world, he collected conquering Hare Krishna, my dear queen, when Bahuvasur was conquering all the world, the collected wherever possible all the beautiful daughters of the kings and kept us arrested within his place. When news of our imprisonment reached Lord Krishna, he fought with Bhumasura and released us. Lord Krishna killed Bahumasura and all his soldiers, and although he had no need to accept even one wife, he nevertheless, by our request, married all 16,000 of us. My dear queen, our only qualification was that we were always thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, which is the way to release oneself from the bondage of repeated birth and death. My dear queen, Draupadi, please take it from us that we are not after any opulence such as kingdom, as empire, or a position of heavenly enjoyment. We do not want to enjoy such material opulences, nor do we desire to achieve the yogic perfection, nor the exalted post of Lord Brahma, nor do we want any of the different kind of liberation. Saurupya, Salokya, Sarsti, Samipya, or Sayujya. We are not at all attracted by any of these opulences. Our only ambition, our only ambition is to bear on our heads life after life the dust particle attached to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The goddess of fortune all desires to keep that dust on her breasts along with fragrant saffron. We simply desire this dust which accumulates underneath underneath the lotus feet of Krishna. As he travels on the land of Vrindavana as a cowherd boy, the gopis especially, and all the cowherd men and the aborigine
Aborigine.
tribeswomen, aborigine tribeswomen always desire to become the grass and straw on the street of Vrindavana, to be trampled on by the lotus feet of Krishna. My dear Queen, we wish to remain as such life after life without any other desire. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purport of 83rd chapter of Krishna. Draupadi meets the Queen of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So last part you did not read properly, but you were reading very, very nicely. Okay. So everyone desires now, and these are two very, very important points. We talked about the fact that the wives of Krishna wanted to be maid servants of Krishna. Every time we saw this getting repeated once again. Now, this is about 16,108, 16,000 wives, primary or primary eight, principal eight queens, uh, spoke about their pastimes. Now it was about 16,000 wives. These were queens of Bhaumasur. Now, please try and understand that a woman has to be protected. That's the injunction of our Shastra. Woman has to be protected. Now, Krishna killed this demon, Bhaumasur. When Krishna killed this demon, these protected women, although they were not very happy, they were very, very sad that they were queens of this demon, Bhaumasur. But because Krishna killed this demon, so many women would not be protected hereafter. Yeah. And if women would not have been protected, the society would have led to wrong things. Yeah, it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as well. So the society would have led to wrong things, and therefore they requested Krishna to accept them. Where else would they go? Krishna killed the person whom they were devoted to. That was a asura, but they were devoted to that person. And when Krishna accepts, although Bhaumasura's wife gave this reason why they should be accepted, but they were devotees of Krishna. And they wanted to serve Krishna only. A devotee of Krishna, I just want to serve Krishna in whatever relationship. Does the relationship matter a lot? No. A devotee just want to serve Krishna. That is his only goal of life. So these devotees wanted to serve Krishna. But they were not finding any ways. How can we serve Krishna? But once they become, they get this opportunity to be Krishna's wife. Now I have the opportunity to be Krishna's wife and serve Krishna. But they are very, very specific. And Rukmani is speaking. My dear, uh, my dear Queen Draupadi, please take it from us that we are not after opulence of such a kingdom. Krishna's kingdom is such opulent, but we do not want this opulence. An empire, Krishna owns this empire. No, we do not want a position of heavenly enjoyment. So Krishna's wife are aloof from these things. Yeah, and they did not wanted this liberation as well. Right? This is very important. Our only ambition is to bear in our heads, life after life, the dust particle attached to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The goddess of fortune also desires to keep that dust in their breast along with the pregnant saffron. We simply desire this dust, which accumulates underneath the lotus feet of Krishna as he travels to the land of Vrindavana as a cowherd boy. The gopis, especially, and also the cowherd men and the ab origin. Ab origin means local resident. And the aborigine tribes women always desire to become the grass and straw. They are happy being grass and straw. On the street of Vrindavana to be trampled. When grass and straw would be there, what would happen to them? When anyone stands on grass or straw, they would be trampled. Yeah. So yes, just a minute. To be trampled on by the lotus feet of Krishna, my dear queen, we wish to remain as such life after life. We want ourselves to be grass and straw. Life after life, we want to be trampled by Krishna without any other desire. Yeah, this is very, very pure. A pure devotee of Krishna could think in this manner. Yes. Normal personalities could never even imagine doing it. Yeah. We should not be pretender. We should not think like uh, uh, no. It's okay. It's okay. One question was asked. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started with chapter 84. Shweta, would you start? Continue.
Hare Krishna.
Anshika is also there. Yeah. Sorry. Anshika, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 84 Sacrificial Ceremonies Performed by Vasudeva. Among the women present at Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse were Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, and the queens of many other kings, as well as the gopis from Vrindavana. When the different queens of Lord Krishna were submitting their statements as to how they had been married and accepted by Lord Krishna as his wives, all the female members of the Kuru dynasty were struck with wonder. They were filled with admiration at how all the queens of Krishna were attached to him with love and affection. When they heard about the queen's intensity of love and affection for Krishna, they could not check their eyes from filling with tears. While the women were engaged in conversations among themselves and the men were similarly engaged in conversation, there are arrived from all directions almost all important sages and ascetics who had come for the purpose of seeing Lord Krishna and Balrama. Chief among the sages were Krishnadvaipayana, Vyasa, the great sage Narada, Yavana,
Shavana.
Yavana, Devala, Ashita, Vishwamitra, Sanatananda, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Lord Parshuram, along with his disciples, Vasishtha,
Galva.
Galva,
Bhrigu.
Bhrigu, Pulastya, Kashyapa, Atri, Markandeya, Brahaspati, Vita, Trita, Ekata, the four Kumara sons of Brahma, Sanaka, Sananandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara. Angira, Sanatana, Angira, Agastya, Yajnavalkya, and Vamadev. As soon as the sages and ascetics arrived, all the kings, including Maharaj Yudhishthir and the other Pandavas and Lord Krishna and Balrama, immediately got up from their seats and offered respects by bowing down to the universally respected sages. After this, the sages were properly welcomed by being offered seats and water for washing their feet. Palatable fruits, garments of flowers, incense, and sandalwood pearl were presented. And all the kings, led by Krishna and Balrama, worshipped the sages according to the Vedic rules and regulation. When all the sages were comfortably seated, Lord Krishna, who descended for the protection of religion, began to address them on behalf of all the kings. When Krishna began to speak, all became silent, being eager to hear and understand his welcoming words to the sages. Lord Krishna spoke. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Many thanks for joining in. So we would continue from this part next time. It was only introduction. So sacrificial ceremonies will be conducted, and those who are present, their names are, and the paraphernalia and how things are situated has been discussed today. We would continue from here tomorrow, next week. So thank you everyone for joining in. Many thanks. Those who have any question may ask their question. But first, let's do Vaishnav Pranam Mantra. Yeah. Okay. Who would do? Chat for everyone. Okay. Vaishnav Pranam Mantra. Who would? Okay, let me start. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
kripa sindhubhya eva cha
Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha
patitanam pavanebhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Anant Koti Vaishnav ki
Jai.
Divine Darshan Prasad ki
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
सभी भक्तों की
Jai.
हरे कृष्णा
Hare
हरे कृष्णा
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्णा
Krishna
हरे
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare,
राम
Hare
हरे
Rama,
राम
Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
कृष्णा
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्णा
Krishna
हरे
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare, Hare
Rama
Rama, Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Rama
हरे
Rama,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare,
कृष्णा
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna, Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare,
राम
Hare Rama, Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Rama
हरे
Rama,
हरे
Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण. So yes, do we have any question? Any question? No. So thank you everyone for joining in. Keep on joining, keep on chanting, keep on praising Krishna's name, and keep on sharing this transcendental message to everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.